And nobody saw more of Albert's over 600 home runs than Tony LaRussa. The two spent 11 seasons together and accomplished a lot in a decade plus in St. Louis. And it's a pleasure to have Hall of Fame manager Tony LaRussa on with us on MLB Tonight. Tony, I know you've been asked this a lot. We just saw in that piece with Harold Reynolds before the break that the career started in 2001 with an infield single. Surely it wasn't at that moment that you knew you were looking at one of the all-time greats. When was that for you?
I think it was a quick progression. First met him instructionally in '99. The guys there said, let's look at this young draft choice. He's special, even though he's a 13th rounder. The next year he's in Peoria, A-ball. And because he played there with Chris Duncan and Yachty, we stayed on track with what he was doing. But it's when he came to spring training, they were, the organization was thinking A-ball to AAA. And one of our processes were that when we had somebody special as a kid, we would put him in the hitting group with Edmonds and Pujols, Renteria, when they went around their stations. And so I would watch, and this young man was doing things that those great professionals, winning players, were doing, maybe with a little extra as far as just the contact and the life off the bat. So I think we all knew in spring training that he was going to be a star sooner or later. As it turned out, it was right away.
Tony, it's amazing because fans do get to watch Albert go out there and do what he does. They've seen their career. As players, we also see him, whether it was being an opponent or, for me, a little brief period of time as a teammate. Could you talk about his preparation? Because obviously the talent is through the roof, but it's not like he just rolls out of bed and hits, even though sometimes all of us believe so at one point. Tell me about his preparation. What did you see in his work ethic that made him so great?
Well, it starts during the offseason. As soon as the spring training, the season was over, he'd take a little time off and he'd get to work physically. But in camp, he would make this statement that sounds okay, but he delivered every year. He came to camp and would say, I need to make this team. And every year he worked harder than the year before and smarter. So much so that we had some young guys who would come in, hey, Albert, can I hit with you in camp? And after a couple of days, say, I don't have anything left for the workout.
Tony, in your life in baseball, you've spent so much time around some of the greatest all-time offensive players in the game's history. Great RBI guys like Harold Baines, power hitters like McGuire, average hitters like Carney Lansford. Because Albert seems to be all of that in one player, I'll ask you the very unfair question. Where do you rank him in the pantheon of all-time greats?
He's the most complete winning player of any team we had because he came in with the perfect attitude. What can I do to help us win? We'll talk about the hitting, but he would play defense, run the bases, cheer for his teammates, everything. But, he did it the old-fashioned way and still does it. We were taught you play the scoreboard. If you're leading off the inning, get on base. There's a guy on base, drive him home. And Albert played the scoreboard every at-bat all season, and he would just take care of his statistics. So as a complete winning player, Albert was in a class of his own. And the Reggie Jackson says, if you're in the conversation, I think Albert's in the conversation with the greatest players of any generation. You talk about Willie and Ruth and Hank and, going forward into our era, Albert's in that conversation.
Tony, I agree 100% with you. When we talk about Albert Pujols, we have to be talking about one of the greatest players who's ever played, and I say that very comfortably. I want to put you on the spot because this is going to be really difficult for you, I bet. So many great moments. Which one was your favorite Albert Pujols moment?
Probably the fact that he started a rally in Game 6 against the Rangers with a double to a left center. Without that double, would have been, if he makes an out, it's 2 outs, nobody on. We don't win the game. We don't go farther. But believe me, there are so many to choose for. I think they're all tied for first, but I'll take that one because it's directly to a championship.
I'll pull one out, Tony, from that same World Series in 2011. To hit 3 homers in a World Series game, as Albert did in Game 3, I mean, I would just love to know what was going through your mind after the first, second, and third. What were you thinking that day?
Well, if you remember, we were tied 1-1. It was Game 3. So, we were, the first couple of games, not a lot of runs scored. So all of a sudden, it's Texas, it's a slugfest, and Albert had been kind of quiet. And once he got it going, the first one was a 3-run bomb that was very important. And then against Gonzalez, he hit the first pitch out. And then I've heard Mark McGuire, who was our hitting coach there, if you take the side view of home run number 3, it was a cutter by Oliver. That is probably the best swing he's ever had in his career, or tied for first with the best one. And when Albert starts getting on it, it's just the fact he's going to hit it hard. It could be a line drive to the opposite field, could be a double in the gap. But if he catches it right with the underspin, it's going to carry for a home run. And once he got it going, he never really changed his swing. It's just the result happened to be, I think he had 5 hits, 3 home runs.
Yeah, that was unbelievable. And Tony, now you're reunited with Albert. I want to know, what does that mean to you? And then let's fast forward a little bit when Albert becomes eligible for the Hall of Fame. Do you envision this being a unanimous inductee into the Hall of Fame?
I think about Albert, and I get a warm feeling personally and professionally what kind of person and man he is and player. And coming in this spring during the abbreviated camp, I had the same. I see him, I start smiling, because this guy has not changed. He's actually healthier than he's been in a while. He's in great shape. I'm a little selfish. If he retires, I'd like to see him retire. So 5 years from now, when I'm still around, I want to be there to get the chills when he gets inducted. You ask a great question. Will he be unanimous? And I'll give you a little tongue-in-cheek answer. Traditionally, with his performances in every category, he should be. What I don't know is there a metric out there that some mathematician is going to look at and say, well, he's not quite a first ballot guy. And that formula should be burnt forever. He is a first
I agree.
Outstanding, unanimous choice.
Tony, if that guy's out there, we'll find him for you. Don't worry. We'll take care
Yes,
of that.
we will. We'll let him know.
Hey, Tony, we really appreciate the visit. Thanks for sharing some of your memories of Albert, and we very much appreciate your time. We hope to see you this summer in Anaheim. Thanks again.
Oh, so congratulations, MLB. You picked the perfect player to showcase. Nice going.